very good chance that what is preventing you from feeling like you've got a really strong meditation practice, or that you can commit to your consciousness raising devotional practices, doing your yoga, has nothing to do with a lack of discipline or a lack of ability to connect. It is highly unlikely that it is about your internal commitment to doing your spiritual or mindfulness practices. What is far more likely is this. This is the number one impediment to us feeling that we are in deep devotion, doing great meditation, committed to our awakening journey, and it is low self-worth. Low self-esteem is a far greater contributor to us not being able to maintain consistent, disciplined action over time, even when we know that it will positively benefit us or that it will take us to where we want to go in the journey of our awakening, right? So why is that? First of all, this has been scientifically verified that it is not about more hours, more time, more, commitment to getting yourself into these practices. It's about your perception of yourself when you arrive on your mat. So if you don't believe that you are worthy, that you are good, that you are valuable, then your chances of being able to stay in those practices, to go into deep states of devotion, are far reduced. And this is revelatory. When I first heard this information, it was like turning the world on its head, right? That it is low self-worth that prevents us from being in our practices of mindfulness, of meditation, of increasing access to our own sense of divinity, right? But when we dig a little deeper, it absolutely makes sense. If you do not believe that you are worthy or good or valuable, then why would any part of you, particularly your nervous system, allow you to sit in states of being that get you to know yourself better? You don't want to know yourself when you're in low self-esteem. You want to run from yourself, and that's what most of us are doing, right? Most of us are running from what makes us uncomfortable, especially our self-belief. So if we are not tending to the dominant narrative we have about ourselves, then we will not see an increase in our capacity to meditate or do our devotion or show up to any of our mindfulness or well-being practices, because we do not believe we are worth them. And we also don't want to nor know how to go into the subconscious to clear those dominant negative self-beliefs. This increase of access to self-worth is not about putting positive affirmations on your mirror and hoping for the best. It is about being willing to meet the parts of you that do not agree that you are a divine piece of a benevolent universe that is always working on your behalf, right? So we need to be willing to go into the underworld of our own being and look at those subconscious beliefs that we're holding that are keeping us trapped in this idea that we are less than, that we are not valuable, that we are not worthy, and to meet those with curiosity and love. That is why all of the devotion that I offer begins with, first we meet our fear. Then we go in to creating a new reality. But if you're using your devotion, your meditation, your well-being practices, your mindfulness practices to try to just get to that place without first meeting the impediments and the blocks and the obstacles that are in the way, it's a losing battle. You might be able to go for a few days at a time. You might even get it up to like a month, but you'll self-sabotage at some point because the dominant narrative in your subconscious is, I am not worthy. I am not deserving of being in this sense of bliss, of joy, of a greater inherent interconnectedness. The whole premise of our spirituality, in the way that I teach it, is based on the idea from quantum physics that everything is inherently interconnected, that quantum field of consciousness of which we are all a part. So if I am one with that oneness, if I am part of that God consciousness that I refer to it as, then I will have to start to change my mind about myself and believe different stories. And you better believe the ego is going to fight you if the dominant narrative is, I am not worthy. The second you try to bring change to that dominant narrative at the level of the subconscious, which is the only level that real change can happen, the reasoning conscious mind will not get us there. the ego will feel threatened, and it will try to protect us by throwing up these resistances. Like suddenly you're like, I just cannot be bothered getting up this morning. I can't be bothered going to yoga. I cannot do meditation. I don't know how to meditate. One day it feels good and then the next day it feels terrible. That is the wrestle between the ego and the soul, right? And the ego's arsenal is pretty impressive. It will co-opt the nervous system. It will co-opt the mind. It will co-opt the heart rate. It will co-opt the brainwave state to get you into dysregulation, so that you then have evidence that I'm not very good at meditation. I can't maintain a consistent devotional practice, right? The ego, however, is only a servant to the soul. And when we start to shift our perception of ourselves, or at least have curiosity and willingness to go, okay, maybe I'm not lazy. Maybe I'm not a procrastinator. Maybe I'm not a bad person who can't do these things. Maybe I am just in a war between the ego and the soul for dominance. Now that sounds very sort of combative language, but it truly is a battle. We have to fight for ourselves. And we know this if we've ever recovered from addiction, right? That the addiction is the ego out of control. It is trying to control us, to keep us in the known, to keep us in a place where it perceives itself to be safe, usually to our own detriment, right? Because addiction is rarely going to lead us to a higher level of consciousness. So our task is to recognize that it is a battle, but it's a holy battle. It's a space that is worthy of us showing up with that commitment, not to beat ourselves into submission, not to set the alarm for earlier and earlier in the hopes that we'll finally get our act together, not to judge ourselves for our procrastination or delaying, but to sit with curiosity at those places, because those resistances are telling us what our fears are. What is the dominant narrative I have about myself that I'm running in my subconscious all of the time? This is how we set ourselves free. And this is the highest benefit of devotion, at least in those beginning stages. And by beginning, I mean, I'm still there 35 years in. It's not a quick fix. It's not a race to the finish line. There is no finish line. There is no top of the mountain. There is only moksha, liberation, and it's waiting for all of us. Our willingness, our curiosity must be, okay, where have I forgotten that I am one with the mind of God? Where am I behaving in a way that goes against my own divine nature? Where am I bullying, belittling, being mean to myself? Where am I resisting my evolution to the truth that I am worthy? So the next time that you are judging yourself for not getting yourself onto your meditation cushion or your yoga mat at 5:30 in the morning, and you're saying to yourself all these horrible and wicked things, know that that is the first place of change. Can you practice softening into the possibility that maybe if quantum physics is telling me that I am one with all, that maybe I am worth more than these mean, cruel inner thoughts that I am holding. And maybe I will soften here and offer myself something more gentle, something more compassionate. And that is the way we evolve. That is far more powerful. Increasing self-worth is a strategy that increases access to our own divine truth. And you are worth the effort.